My name is Amira Janelle Rivers. I was a trauma nurse, a believer, a mother, a woman trying to keep everything together. But on November 9th, 2023, I died. In the 12 minutes that followed, Jesus Christ showed me things I never imagined I'd see. He revealed truths I didn't want to face and gave me a mission that cost me more than I ever expected. That Thursday started like every other night shift. Coffee, scrubs, a quick prayer in the car, exhaustion already tugging at my spirit. Before heading into the hospital, I stopped at a 24-hour corner store for gum and a bottled drink. The white kid behind the register, someone I'd seen dozens of times before, looked me in the eye for once and said, "Be safe out there, Miss Amira." I didn't know those would be the last words spoken to me on this side of life. Moments later, as I turned into the hospital parking lot, I saw a burst of orange light. The ground trembled. A steel beam from a gas explosion at a nearby construction site came crashing through my windshield. I never had time to scream, but I didn't feel pain. I felt freedom, like I'd slipped out of something heavy and hollow, and stepped into clarity. I was hovering above my body. Paramedics, people I trained with, laughed with, were trying to revive me. I recognized a friend, Angela, on her knees beside me. She was crying. A white woman who had once told me she didn't know how to talk about race was now praying louder than anyone. God, if Amira knows you, bring her back. If she doesn't, please meet her where she is. And just like that, something shattered, and I was pulled, not upward or downward, but inward, into something holy, glowing, infinite. And in that space of music, without instruments, light without source, I saw him. Jesus, not a stained glass. Jesus, not white, not black, not one skin tone, but all of them. He first appeared to me as a black man, deep brown skin, textured hair, eyes like galaxies holding ancient grief and eternal joy. But then he shifted. His features changed. Lightening, aging, softening, still him. Still love, still power. My soul didn't just see him, it remembered him. I asked, trembling, "Why do you keep changing?" "Because every soul sees me in the language of their spirit," he said. I become familiar, so no one is afraid. He invited me to walk with him, but we didn't walk through clouds or golden streets. He took me to a place in between, a realm like a spiritual staging ground, and he let me see what I never would have understood in my old life. I saw prayers, literal waves of light streaming through space. I saw people, souls, still hurting long after their bodies had died. And then I saw the wounds, not wounds of war or sickness, but wounds caused by division, by racism, by history, by silence. Jesus pointed to them and said, "These are not just political issues. These are spiritual injuries. And the enemy's greatest weapon is division." He brought me closer into what he called the baptism of empathy, and suddenly I began to feel, not observe, not study, not analyze, but feel. I felt the confusion of a white woman I dismissed as ignorant, the shame of white Christians who stayed silent out of fear of saying the wrong thing, the grief of my ancestors still echoing through my bones, the rage of forgotten black voices, the exhaustion of mothers trying to raise children in a fractured world. Every pain became my own. Every tear found its way through my soul. Too. I sobbed. And Jesus stood beside me and said, "This is humanity's emotional DNA, and your willingness to feel it is the first step to healing." Then he showed me something that chilled me more than anything else, a chain not made of metal but of memory. Each link pulsed with power crafted from fear, pride, guilt, assumption, silence, resentment. Each link carried a name. I didn't mean it. It's not my fault. You people are always angry. There's one where they'll never understand. I'm tired of explaining. I just don't talk about it. And the chain wasn't around just one group. It was wrapped around everyone, tightening, bruising, dividing. This is not just racism, Jesus said. It is a spiritual contract, passed from soul to soul, sealed by fear, sustained by silence. He looked at me, not with anger, but with fierce, weeping hope. You are not the whole solution, but you are a key. Jesus placed his hand over my heart, not to calm it, but to align it. And suddenly I saw churches, hundreds, thousands, black churches, white churches, multiracial ones. But in so many of them, something was missing. Heaven's presence wasn't always absent, but it was often grieved. Sunday morning, Jesus said, his voice like a whisper through eternity, is still the most segregated hour in America. And then he wept, not with rage, not with condemnation, but with sorrow, so holy, I felt it changed me forever. They used my name, but not my nature. They preached love, but built fences. They called themselves the body, yet refused to hold hands. Jesus then showed me the hidden ones, stories I had never heard, stories the media never told. A white farmer in Mississippi who risked his land to protect a black neighbor. A young biracial girl who prayed every night for her two families to forgive each other. An elderly white woman in Ohio who fasted and prayed in secret every day for racial unity, not for applause but out of love. These are my saints, Jesus said. They are not loud, but they are building bridges. Oh, and then I saw something incredible. A sanctuary floating in the spiritual realm, but it wasn't made of stone or wood. It was built from forgiveness offered when it wasn't deserved. Conversations that began with trembling honesty, hugs between people who had once hated, meals shared across divides, silent. Prayers in hospital rooms for people of a different skin color. You won't get it fast and the one more you want. This structure was alive, growing, beautiful, and Jesus called it the sanctuary of reconciliation. It is not built by those who are perfect, he said. He said, but by those who are brave. Every act of humility is a brick. Every honest conversation is mortar. Every, I'm sorry. And I forgive you adds to its glory. I looked at him and said, Lord, I've been so angry. I've made assumptions. I've shut people out. I've judged even as I begged not to be judged. He touched my face gently as a father would a child. No. And he said, you're not condemned. You were hurting, and now you're healing. Then he showed me white people, but not as enemies. He showed me what I hadn't wanted to see. There were white men and women weighed down with generational guilt, unsure how to speak without offending, terrified of getting it wrong, and so choosing silence instead of trying, wanting to help, but unsure if their help would even be welcomed. And Jesus said, fear is the enemy, not them. Love is not about who's right. It's about who's willing. He showed me how the enemy twists fear into hate, guilt into shame, silence into division. But that every act of compassion, no matter how small, was recorded in heaven. Then he showed me my people, black men and women across time, my ancestors, my patients, my friends, some still full of fire, some weary, some fed up with explaining what shouldn't have to be explained. And yet so many of them were still choosing love. Now, you are a well of strength, Jesus told me, but strength without healing becomes a burden. You were not made to carry all of this alone. Now, you are not the wound, you are the witness, and now the warrior. Then he said the words that broke me completely. Race was never my idea. I created color as beauty, but the enemy twisted diversity into division. But you, Amira, you felt both sides of the wound, now go and become part of the healing. Not with anger, but with understanding, not with vengeance, but with vision, not to silence others, but to listen, love, and lead. And just like that, I was pulled back, pain rushed in, the hospital room came into focus, voices, lights, tears I was back, and nothing in me would ever be the same again. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've told the story to anyone who will listen. Churches, schools, living rooms, strangers, not to impress anyone. Not to stir guilt, but to stir hope. Because now I know something I never knew before. Racism is not just a political issue. It's not just history. It's not just injustice. It is a spiritual wound, and love is the only medicine. I don't look at people the same anymore. I don't pray the same. I don't walk through this world the same. Because Jesus showed me that every act of unity echoes in heaven, that every I'm listening cracks another link in that ancient chain, that every moment of courage across the divide is recorded in eternity. So if you're reading this or watching this, I want to leave you with this. The enemy's plan is to divide us, but Jesus' plan is to unite us through love. White, black, brown, we are not enemies. We are instruments in heaven's healing. And our job is to keep playing the song of reconciliation, even when the world screams otherwise. So listen, speak, forgive, pray, build, and above all love, because that's how we break the chain.